What's up, everybody? Welcome on the Open Podcast with Michael. I'm glad today to have my first invitee on the show. It's curious that my first episode will be in English as my podcast is a French one, but maybe it will turn into a bilingual one. I had the opportunity to connect with Lee Davis. He is a man with a lovely heart that just wants to help people. This man has gone through a lot, and I couldn't help but have him on my show because he's done so much for me, and I think that he can be a light in this world and help so much people. And today he is working as a coach to really help people transform their life and transform their suffering. So today we will talk about his vision as a coach and finding purpose, believing everything is possible and hope, and why that is really important and why it has helped him survive from all the pain and suffering, and why his relationship with God and universe is one of the most important things in his life. We will go through his car accident and how being sick in our healthcare system right now can be really suffering. He will share why self-love is so important, and also his search for answer, because he has gone through a lot with spirituality, and he at some point forget himself, forget his identity, and he was just looking for meaning. So in this episode where we will try to uncover a man searching for meaning and just a man that just want to share with the world what his heart is telling him to do, I am glad to welcome him, and I hope that this episode will resonate with some of you. Also, I just want to make a little mention as my first episode with someone. I'm sorry there will be some disturbance in the sound, but I hope that doesn't disturb too much. And again, good podcast. Thank you for being here, and have an amazing day. May the peace be with you. What's up, Lee? How are you doing?
I'm good.
Welcome on the show, buddy.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's called the Open Podcast with Michael. So it's just about being really pure and raw. So that's why I wanted you to have you on the podcast, because I've met you on the mastermind with Peter Crone, and I find that you were an inspiring man, inspiring man in this world, because you show up as your true self. So I had the opportunity to meet you because you reached out to me because you heard about my health concern. So I wanted to know for you, because you've gone through major stuff into your life with your health, and we will go through your car accident a bit if you are at ease sharing. But before that, so I just want to hear more about you, where you came from, what was your childhood look like, were you like a sports guy, how was it for you?
I grew up in Toronto, just outside of Toronto, Mississauga. Pretty normal life, I think. I had a sports active life, although I was bullied a lot when I was a kid. Okay. So that was probably what stands out as being something that kind of colored my experiences different. Or at least I thought it was different. So many people experience that, but for me it felt like, we internalize our pain quite strongly, and so that stuck with me. And I think cut me off from my childhood quite a bit, and it followed me into my later life. I played a lot of sports, but I didn't really show up for them because I think I was afraid of being seen, so I didn't really, I didn't really commit to things because I wanted to hide away instead of actually compete, because there was a part of me that was afraid to, just be rejected and hurt more than I was. So I don't know if that fully answers your question. I kind of went on a tangent, but
yeah, it does, and I can resonate with you with the bullying. I had kind of the same experience, and at that age we don't have the mind to process it correctly, so it does shape or years afterward. I'm just curious because a question arose in my mind when you were speaking like that. If you had the opportunity to talk to that boy at that age, what would be something that you would say to him?
You mean my younger self?
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd listen. I think he was too hurt to listen, but I would try to just show him that he's okay. I could be his friend, and it's safe to be his friend. I'd just try to show him that he's loved.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that would be That would be what I would want to do.
And what was like the way he was um, acting upon that fear of not being loved or that bullying? You've talked about sport, so was it a way to escape his pain, or like how was it going for him to cope with that pain at that moment?
I think I turned to, partying and drugs and alcohol and women to try to run away from myself at a very early age, I was just chasing the next fix that would stop me from feeling what was really inside, what was feeling the fear around honest connection, the fear around what it actually felt like to feel love, because it became very scary. So, like trust and connection and safety. So, for me, it was just and internally it was a very dark time, very dark life in that sense. Albeit on the surface, it was great. It looked phenomenal. I had a lot of experiences, had interesting friend groups as I got older, and but it was full of an internal suffering. And I'm lucky I survived a lot of the things that I put myself through, just by the grace of God, that like I didn't have more challenges. I didn't get locked up earlier. It was the amount of things that I did that I just got away with by happen chance. Were quite large. I was really trying to push the boundary off them, to give me an exhilaration, just something to make me feel alive, which I think I was always trying to outperform how I felt inside. So I felt less than, and so instead of competing in community and like actual sports where I would feel the judgment from others, I would try to, I would like, at least when I got older, I ran away and was just on my own a lot. So I was like going off on adventures on my own and partying on my own, doing all these things where I didn't have to like reflect into community and connection. So it was fleeting, and it was a way to like run from myself, but also there was something very destructive in it that was trying to overcompensate for how I felt.
And at that time, did you know that you was like motivated from a space of fear a bit, or it was just pure unconscious and you were just like, because I think a lot of people at my age or younger, we escape, like you said, from so much things. So some people is from partying or drugs, or for myself it was all going all out through training, sports, nutrition, and like the adding habits, like if I was in the army. But were you conscious about it at that time, or not at all?
I don't think so. I think it was quite unconscious and just driven by my impulses and a lot of rage and anger and desire. I wasn't very present to what was going on inside. Although I could feel the suffering, I didn't really understand it. So it was.
You spoke about God.
Just now, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned the word God, and I don't know, like, for the people who listen to the podcast, what God means to them. Some people call it the universe, whatever. Like, what is the place of God for you in your life?
For me, God is the relationship with something that I find to be hard to describe, and I kind of vacillate between different rounds of what it means. It is something that's beyond me, something that is, something that is not essentially me, even though I do feel that we are part of that in a way. But I also feel, in like a non-religious but religious and biblical sense, God is this field of creation that we connect to, that has a benevolent force that responds to how we connect with it. And so if we can lean into it in the right way, and if we can align ourselves with the right action and prayer, and really start to try to look at the internal machinery and how does that work in connection with what is there to serve us potentially, then it can be really something of a co-creation. I think that's what people talk about, right? So for me, God is many things, in the sense it's like the quieting of myself to listen to what's there, and then to try to build that relationship, and also listen and learn, because it's well beyond me what it is, but it's become very important, and it never was when I was younger. And in fact, I was all about science and did nothing mystic.
Really?
Yeah. Nothing.
And what was the thing that gets you to God?
Suffering.
Suffering.
Well, yeah, suffering and spiritual experiences. I just started having experiences that I couldn't explain, and so that took me down a path of just being like, oh my God, there's something more.
There is something.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I don't need to, maybe, but I don't feel I need to convince others. I know my internal experience has been very specific around these things, and so it's like there's no question for me what's real and what's not. Now, maybe how I approach that and the interpretation of certain things can be pivoted in my mind. I can pivot within my mind around that, but there's something very profound that keeps reoccurring. So I don't, yeah.
Something real.
Something
like even
real.
if we cannot see with our eyes,
yeah,
you have developed like a kind of relationship, and I love the fact that you use the word relationship, because I think that as younger people, I will speak for myself, like living in Quebec, in a region where there is no much faith in God, because we associate God with the Catholic Church and like the Father God, and we only have like this kind of image. But the way you spoke to it was more a relationship with something bigger, and then it becomes something very powerful in a sense because you are co-creating. But how did it become like a co-creation process? Did it start that way, or it was just like maybe praying, or how did it unfold for you?
You know, it unfolded in a lot of like occultic stuff. Like I was against any mainstream religious structure, and I'm not really, I mean, I don't really know where I land within all of that. I do believe there's a lot of truth behind, there's mysticism behind all of it, you know? And that's this...
Sorry for the people that don't know what mysticism is.
I think it's like the spiritual essence of like miracles. That's what I think mysticism is. And well, I mean, there are other terms that people would describe that, but for me, that's sort of the way I would use it.
Yeah, perfect.
Because it's more potent than spirituality. I think spirituality is. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure where I would land on spirituality, but I want to like say that I think that in the beginning I started with like a real opposition to certain things. So I was against Christianity, I was against the whole idea of Christ and all these different concepts and God. Like I was not open to that, but I was open to creation. I was open to the all. I was open to the themes of like non-duality and Taoism and like certain things that had a different way of me being able to relate to it.
So in the beginning, it was more an oriental approach to it.
More Eastern, and also just very esoteric. It was anything that didn't have to do with these like Abrahamic religions that were focused on like, you know, the main ones that we grew up with. So that was how it started, and it changed over the years. And I found that there were some innate truths that just kept showing up, and I couldn't really like deny the experience I was having with them. And even so, my mind was trying to make sense of this. I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. Like, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's all this and it's all that, but it doesn't, like, why is this responding to that? So, you know, and we've talked a little bit about some of my stuff. So it was just it kept changing my perspective by necessity. So that was something that I saw happen slowly over about 10 years. And it's led me to a place of just having like emphatic belief in a certain, I shouldn't say emphatic, I really truly believe what I know that I've experienced, and I'm open to being wrong, but I also am just leaning into what I feel and trust. And there's something really deep there that doesn't seem to be changing. Just sort of keeps bringing me closer to it.
Yeah, you know what you know. And there's the relationship that keep evolving with that too. That's beautiful too, because it's not a closed-minded like kind of framework around spirituality. It's like an openness to what is God, in fact. But you do have always this sense of connectedness with it, and I find that so precious, because for myself, I've just like with sickness and everything, I've developed my own kind of faith through the course of miracle, and also trying to find like what's aligned with my heart too, because I was pretty much into science. There was nothing bigger than me, and with what I've gone through, it's like it has to be something bigger. But the way we experience our relationship with it, like I don't mind if you call it God or universe or stuff, but do you develop something with something bigger is what I find beautiful. So That's kind of huge, and I know that we spoke about, of course, your health, my health. Like we share that in common.
Yeah.
Can you spoke a little bit about what happened? What was like? How does it unfold for you?
Yeah, I mean, my journey was a bit complex for me to even know how it unfolded or what happened, but I was hit by a car, almost 11 years ago. My head was split open, and I survived.
So you're 38, so it was like at 27 years old, around?
Yeah,
Okay.
right at the end of that year. And, but, I started having issues, started cascading on my nervous system, brain injury stuff. But then, a year later, I had some really intense spiritual trauma happen, which sent me on a path of trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. How do I survive from this? I basically said a prayer one day, asking for, my power back in life, and this force entered, and I felt this force. As soon as I finished the prayer, I felt this force enter, and my mind fractured. It's the only way I could describe it. I went into madness. I went into the void of existential terror. And it was so intense and so strong. And I was completely normal to being on suicide watch. And then that was persistent for 8 years. And it just kept happening. And that drove me to try to fucking find an answer to that. And then in the process of searching, I ended up getting sick and getting really lost in the spiritual world. Doing a lot of different occultic practices and working with teachers who weren't great for me, and doing a lot of things that was just I was losing my identity more and more and more, which is what brings me to this full circle experience of coming back to God. And this is where I'm still trying to understand. It's okay, so coming back to what God is, and I'm okay, God's this experience that for me, I'm having to qualify in this way of okay, is it light, is it love, is it connection, is it this universal all? Well, if it is, then what is this that's not God? Because there are relative experiences that are not maybe something that we want, and not the permanence of what we experience, but also something that seems to respond to very legalistically to certain protocols and work in certain traditions. And so that was what was really eye-opening for me in the experiences, where originally I was just going down this path, searching, trying to find answers, not thinking there was anything wrong in all the stuff that I was doing. And I'm not trying to pass judgment on people for what they do or what they don't do, but I was getting lost more and more and more and more, and subtly lost.
No matter what you do?
Because I was doing the wrong things. That's the way I understand it. I was doing things that were actually entrapping my spirit and my soul even more, and then fracturing my identity further, while trying to actually not resolving the main issue. So it was the thing that caused all these challenges forced me to go search for answers. But in the searching for answers, I was taking anything I could, and it was I was drinking poison and making it worse, thinking it was going to help me.
Because you were just trying to survive at that time, right?
Yeah, I was just trying to survive. I didn't want to kill myself. I didn't want to die. Doctors didn't know it was wrong. I had done brain scans, MRIs,
Yeah, you've done anything and they couldn't find anything.
They kept saying you're healthy, and
it's the same with me.
Yeah.
Everything's going wrong in your life. You're at bed all the time, not able to eat.
Yeah.
Everything is challenging, but you're fine, buddy.
Yeah.
So
it's gaslighting. It's so frustrating.
It is, because I don't know you, but at some point I was am I full? Am I full of living that? Is it all just in my mind, doctors keep saying to me? Or is there something bigger that medicine or whatever cannot see right now? And I can understand that you just want to find something to get out of that place where I can speak for myself, feel so alone and lost in that experience that you can't relate with anyone. And you just hope that someone will tell you, hey Lee, this is what you have, this is the path to get out of it. We just want that, we just want the hope. And how did you find hope? What keeps you surviving? Yeah.
I think that relationship kept me surviving. I saw early on, for whatever reason, certain people came into my world and started giving, insight into and information and knowledge to me around a lot of what was happening on one level, although it was a bit veiled and maybe not super helpful, but it was guiding me towards this relationship that I spoke about at the beginning, and that internal relationship with something that was well beyond me is what gave me hope. because I could just see the change and I could see this, and I would lose it and I would search again and I would come back, but like that's what kept me going. That's what, you know, that's what got me through it.
What do you think is important about hope?
I think it pierces the darkness. Even just the tiniest seed. It's more than anything. Like it's really important. People talk about gratitude, and I have had this opinion, especially when I was like in my darker days. Like, oh, you gotta find gratitude. It's like, you know what? Shut the fuck up. Honestly, you can shut the fuck up. You need hope first. I stand by that. You need hope in those dark moments. Hope changes you. You're just like, this is completely possible. You believe it's possible.
Vision.
It's a vision, yeah. It's something to move towards. It can empower you so much. And then from that, you can then cultivate gratitude on the way. But like to say that gratitude is the antidote in those spaces, I think it's not. I think it's hope, personally. It was for me, you know. I didn't have anything to be grateful for. I also didn't have anything to be like wallowing about what I wasn't grateful for, because that wasn't going to help me, although I did a lot of that, for sure. So I shouldn't say I didn't have it. I had a lot that I couldn't be grateful for, and I did wallow at times, probably a lot. But hope is the most important thing.
Talking about hope, during the mastermind, like when you reached out to me, I was at a point in my life, and you were too, where it was challenging a lot. And I think we had a big chance to be in a container, a safe container with like Peter Crone and all his crew to just work on ourselves in a community where everyone is doing the same. And you reach out in a way that is so open for me just to help. It was just like, I cried, I screamed in my mind for help, and you came without even knowing it. And you just...
I didn't know that.
You were a gift in my life, and I was blessed that you were just trying to help me not going through what you've gone. So now you're working more in a space of coaching. So you are trying to build your business coach, and I know it will become something big because you have everything inside you to do that. But just to refer back to a vision, what is your vision as a coach in the world? Like, why is that so important for you?
It's important because I've felt suffering that made me want to take my life, and it was so crippling, and I lived most of my life with those feelings inside, and then over the last 10 years with illness and injury and like severe mental health challenges and spiritual challenges, like it just, like nothing else made sense than wanting to stop that suffering in other people. Like if I could help other people on my darkest days, that's what I felt. It's like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like I really don't know if I'm gonna make it, but like maybe I can help somebody else before I die. That'll make my life meaningful. And sure, maybe there's an unconscious part where I didn't feel like I was enough and I can't love myself, so that's what I thought would be enough, that would make me enough. And I can understand how there's like something that isn't completely liberative in that path, but that's what made it important for me. You know, that's what made it really meaningful. And it hasn't gone away. Like but I always think, I think I've always been about that. I've always been a really sensitive kid. Like I've always cared about people. So, you know, helping to alleviate some suffering, if I can, you know, I want to do my part.
If right now, I have the opportunity with you to talk to the world, what will be one thing that you hope you can say to all the men and women in this planet?
I mean,
that's a hell of a question.
That's a hell
I
of
know.
a question. I don't know if I want to talk to everybody in the world, maybe. Jeez.
Maybe we can forget this neighborhood and that one, but like everyone apart. No, I know.
No judgments. Just like it's a scary thought. Like I think I would just say that you want to be. It's just hard. I would say self-love is so important. Your relationship with yourself, and like I would put the question like, where are you actually hurting, and where are you projecting that hurt onto others? You know, where are you posturing and pretending that you're not, because you're just afraid, you know? And then where can you show up for others? And where can you show up for yourself? I don't know if I'd say anything as much as just ask questions and try to like breed awareness around like ourself. Our relationship with ourself is the most important thing, and that is the catalyst to how we have a relationship with the world. You know,
I think those questions are beautiful, and I don't know if you can share my vision about that, but like in the world we are living in today, we put evil on head like Donald Trump or people like that. But from my heart, I've developed a kind of mindset where I'm trying to just see everyone as someone who screams for love and that is suffering. And it just came back to the question you were referring to, like if you knew how much people are afraid, like the only thing you can hope for them is love. So even though if it's the questions, I love the question you will ask to the world, because it makes us reflect on the relationship we have with ourselves, and the relationship we have with ourselves is the relationship we have with the world. So man, thank you for sharing that one.
Yeah, and actually that was what was so powerful about, you know, coming back to some of the religious stuff that, you know, I'm not religious in that sense, but coming back to the spirituality behind religion, the mysticism behind it. Some of these traditions, they requires a relational aspect, like whereas these other ones, they don't. You don't really have to have a relationship with anything. You dissolve into everything, and so there isn't a you. And maybe that's the truth, but like there's things that you can work out in that relationship with God. You have to be in a relationship with something external to you, and it's like you. And maybe there's something interesting in that. Like, you know, instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, maybe there's something really powerful in the fact that like you have to work out your relational nuances, you know, like love thy brother, like love thy neighbor. I don't know if it's love thy brother, but like love thy neighbor, right? Like, I don't know. For me, that's what I've seen coming back to a lot of this stuff around the internal kingdoms that we do have, you know, and seeing what jurisdiction they're in. What jurisdiction? Where the territory inside ourselves is sitting. You know, whether it's in the kingdom of heaven, whether it's in love and connection and acceptance, or whether it's in a different territory that's judgment and anger, and, you know. And so that's been highlighted a lot, and I've seen a lot of truth in that I really can't deny, you know. And so, you know, yeah, it's been very powerful for me.
Love is powerful though, right?
Yeah, it's very powerful. It's very powerful, but so is darkness. You know, people look at the world. It's not. You don't have to look far to see. You know, there's a lot of suffering out there. A lot of people want power. People want money. People want certain things. People don't care about people's health. You know, our pharmaceutical companies are lying to people. Doctors aren't really like owning up and like learning real medicine. They're just getting indoctrinated in the universities that are funded by pharmaceuticals. Like I mean, anyone who's been sick knows it's a fucking crapshoot, and you're lucky to get out of it.
Yeah.
Not only is it a problem to have to get sick, and that's a whole other thing, but once you're sick, you're in trouble because the system isn't built to get you better.
No. And like the system has great work for, I don't know, if you have an accident and you need to be fixed at the moment, like operation stuff, and for the moment, like big moment, car accident and stuff, burning and stuff like that. But for big sickness, it's challenging. And the mental support is so big also. That's a big component also where I found my own faith, is because at one point I was just on my 2 knees and didn't know shit about what am I supposed to do to get better. And when everyone is telling you, sorry man, like I went to all the specialists in Quebec and they all said the same thing.
Yeah.
We don't know, man. I'm sorry. I don't put a doubt in what they want from me. Like I've been to really good human being, but like they are just like, I can help. So what you do when no one can help, you turn to something bigger that with a vision and with hope, you think that can help at some point.
And you know, I really truly do believe that if we can move things on the level of the spirit, then we can truly heal. Like, and whether we want to look at that from a different lens and say, and all is mind, and we can move things from the subconscious and free the self-image, and like how we are with ourself, then like your whole body can heal or step into a place where it can heal. And there are different traditions, have different perspectives on this, and I think it's real. And whether you want to believe in the system of grace or a system of karma, and understand like how much karma you need to burn off until you can reach that place of freedom, like what doors do you have to close, and like what work has to be done until you can actually find that space where you are healing. I truly believe that answers are in the spirit, answers are in the spiritual world, answers are in the energetics of our being that we don't really see, and we don't really know how to like quantify. So we can't really say, oh, you just got to do these 3 things and you'll be good. Then you're going to be fucking healed. Like, we don't know, but there's hope there. There's hope there when you're in cases like yours and mine. Yeah. Hope.
There's an opportunity to grow, right?
For sure.
Like, you are the man you are today because of what you've gone through. You've gone through a lot, but you are a hell of a man too, I think. I believe.
Very kind of you. I'm still processing a lot of what I've gone through. It's been a lot, and I'm still kind of working through, the tail end of that chapter. I don't doubt that there will always be new things in life, but hardship does expand us, and we be careful what we pray for, because you never know how it's going to be served up to you in life.
You never know. You never know.
You never know. So we got.
And like we were talking just before recording the podcast, it's funny because we are both athletes and
were,
but I prefer to say am, because I do believe that words are powerful, and by just stepping into the I am, like maybe the athlete is still in me and you, but like what we were saying is like, so much people want bigger quads or bigger glutes or a better shape, so they go to the gym. But when you can't go to the gym, there is always a gym available 24 hours on 24 in this life. And when you show up in life, when life gets you struggle, you grow muscle, like resiliency muscle, spirit muscle. You were going to say spirit or
spiritual
something.
Muscle. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful. I love that. I love that metaphor. I think it's so true. We grow, but it also speaks to something I wanted to share when you were talking earlier around like, when you lose that part of yourself, like you are no longer able to be athletic. There's a loss, and that loss is hard, and it's a loss of a perceived self, like who we thought ourselves to be. We thought ourselves to be this athletic person,
But who are we without this mask?
We were never that person.
But we thought we would.
We thought we were, and so there's this loss, and it's almost like the design of life is saying, maybe it's saying, hey, you're gonna wake up. You're gonna wake up from something.
Remember who you are.
And remember who you are. Yeah, and so we're gonna take something away from you, so you don't get too attached to it. And this is all unconscious, and I push back on the idea that we've all created this, and like I think that when we think it from that level, we're still personalizing it and thinking that the all created it, maybe God created it, but like we didn't. The we that we are didn't come here and design this, and I think it's a bit lost in the nuances around that, but
it's a journey of discovery too. That one, like to find out, like to process everything that is going on is. It can be challenging though, like, what the fuck? I didn't plan to be sick, but like there can be a sense of responsibility towards it, and guilt and shame also.
Yeah.
And that can be challenging. Man, before, it's my first episode with you. You are the first one.
And I'm so grateful.
Coming.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. This is fun.
Yeah, it is. And it's our first episode on the French podcast, and it is in English. It's kind of ironic.
Bonjour.
But
Comment ça va? Ça va
bien, merci. Je pourrais te parler français, mais ça t'offre pas longtemps. Un petit peu.
Un petit peu.
Okay, I love that.
So.
But let's continue in English. So, I have a concept on my podcast that I want all the invitees to ask me questions, and I cannot resist the questions. I have to respond it from a true heart-based consciousness. I can't. So if you had one question to ask me, what would it be?
is it that you really actually want to say to your mother that you're not saying?
First thing that come in mind for sure is I love you no matter what.
But then you're not saying.
I'm not saying I forgive you. I forgive you because my mom and my dad did all the best they can, like all parents did at their level of awareness. And I can sense that for my mom as a naturopathic, and she was like the most loving mom you can imagine. She just wanted me to be healthy. And I was born with some digestive issues and stuff like this, and she was just trying to help me. And by no means she forced me to do anything. But as a sensitive kid, I could feel the fear in her by seeing my digestive issues and my digestion and stuff like this. And I took the fear of her and I put it on me. And I think I hold some...
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think. And I do want to forgive her because she was not aware, and it came from just a pure space of love. So I love you and I forgive you.
Maybe there's something underneath that. That's what I was kind of questioning. And immediately you spoke to it. You said, like, well, I love you unconditionally no matter what. And it's like, that's what a lot of you wants to say, but maybe there's something else that you don't want to say that's actually inside, that's more alive. And it doesn't have to be something that you stick with, but there's something, it just speaks to an aspect within the experience of what's happened in the past that's kind of bottled up, that's still there. You know, it's a lot of pressure to have from a parent.
Yeah.
And we don't have to get too deep.
But I don't have anything to say more. But I do feel what you're saying, and probably there is stuff because we spoke together before, and you're a pretty sensitive guy, and you can detect something in people. That's very kind of power, a quality you have. But of course, I don't want to take like 10 minutes just reflecting on that question, but it is powerful, and it is something I would invite every people who's looking this show to ask themselves. Can you set the questions again, just so people can? It was like.
Well, I think I just said in the question it was around.
What would you say to your mother?
What is it that you? What would you say? What is it that you don't want to say? What could you say? I'm butchering it now, but I think it was like. You'd have to go back and rewind because I don't fully remember, but it's around like, what would you say that you're not saying, that you actually don't want to say? What would you actually say? Something that you don't want to say. You're like repressing yourself. It's like a subtle shame and judgment. I can't say this. I can't think this. Gosh, I can't think this. It's a denial of an aspect of you. It's actually having a very valid feeling based on an experience of some pressure, some boundary that was crossed that was just a bit too much. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to hold on and not forgive, but it's just this like really speaking to a part that's like holding on to this territory, just being like really not okay.
Mom, I'm afraid. I'm afraid, and it's a lot to take on. Dot. Yeah. For now. But yeah. So I will invite everyone to just ask themselves this question. Thank you for asking an honest question.
That was a hard question to come up with.
That was
I feel like
a
I
hard
fucked that
question.
up.
No, you didn't. That's what I want. I want to be true with the people who are looking to me because I want them to be true with themselves. So if I'm not true, and if people like ask me what's your favorite color, I'm like, what the fuck is the meaning of that question? But if I do have to reflect, if I do have to look inside, it means that they have to. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for.
So before I close off with my three rapid, quick questions.
Okay.
Where could people, like, how can I support you on your journey? Is there a way that you want people to connect with you or to see your stuff, or like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram, and I've been building a coaching business on there. So I have it's LEED aware, so it's lead aware.
Okay.
That's my handle. And yeah, if you're interested, DM me, shoot me a message, and I'd love to support you on your journey. So that's right now where I'm at.
And you will. I can promise that. You better show up.
I do. It's one thing I do.
So I have like kind of a deep questions and two more funny ones. The first one, what is one thing that you don't want the world to see about you, that you are afraid other people see in you?
Yeah, I'm afraid that the world is going to see how broken I am, I think. Feel. Not am, but feel. I'm afraid of that. That's hard for me.
If I could pray for you tonight, what would you love me to pray for you?
Freedom.
Freedom? Okay.
From the fear.
I'll pray for you tonight.
I appreciate that. I'll pray for you, where two or more are gathered.
Yeah, of course. And my last one, Kelsey's, I Love, has created an activity. It's called a Kyle Lego. So it's a 1-minute talk where you speak in the future like it was the past. So for example, you will say, Michael, do you remember like 1 year ago we were recording that podcast, and then you talk like the whole year has gone. 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
So start by saying, do you remember last year, and then go ahead.
So you want me to do this for a
Yeah,
minute?
yeah, and I will entertain it like it was a real discussion 1 year ahead.
Do you remember a year ago when we did that third episode on your podcast, and you already had like, I think 45 different like banger guests over the year? It was incredible to actually come back and see how much you'd developed and how many people you'd reached, and not only that, but you'd actually been able to hit like bilingual channels. Like I thought that was super cool, because not a lot of people are doing that, and so you're reaching a lot of different populations. I thought, yeah.
Thanks. And what about you? But that my question is more about
it's
you.
about me. Oh.
how is your life going? Now you screwed that questions up, but don't worry. Other people afterwards, the other invitee will go for you, and don't do like him. So so what about you? What was the last year going on?
I've reached so many. Last year has been incredible because I've just reached so many people. I've been able to really like shift the hearts and minds of people, and really open up a lot of people to find like real transformation from mental health challenges and from suffering and from like just fear that they never really thought they could get out of. Oof. And so for me, it's been so meaningful to connect with people who are actually shifting and making shifts in the world. And I'm blown away by how much I've been able to reach.
And just before the episode, we were talking like all your health stuff resolved too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
How crazy
that was a while ago. That resolved a while ago. Yeah.
You didn't think about it. So.
No. Been back surfing and feeling great, climbing again. Like, it's all good.
Man, I'm so pumped for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Man.
Yeah, this was good. I really appreciate you letting me come on here and just chat with you, and I appreciate you letting me share my story.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
So thank you everyone to listen to this podcast. Thank you, Lee. I just want to say a big shout out to Tuti, who just showed up as his true self and shared openly like that. I hope that you all find resonance with the episode, that you may find something that was valuable in your day, and that spread a little bit of hope and love in your life too. Please let me know if you have some feedback, and contact me if you have an idea or someone that has something that can be shared with the world. I would love to have him or her on my podcast if it does align with my vision. And also, if you can, please let a review and share it with a family or friend if you think there was something valuable in this episode. What can I say then? You are seen, you are loved, you are heard, and you are making a difference in this life as you are. You are enough, my friend, and I'm wishing you an amazing day. God bless you.